All right, hello everyone. Greetings from Southwest Michigan. We live right here, right now. This is Sergey Ushanka show. We're trying to catch up with my YouTube subscriptions. I promise that I'm gonna do live every time we have 100, another 1,000 subscribers. So channel almost have 110,000 right now. One now, but we are still at 107. So thank you for joining me. I hope we'll get at least 100 people tonight. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. If you want to confirm that the sound is okay, always make sure it's working. Sometimes we have a cat that will crawl around and can knock the cable out. I have another video coming up soon. I already put it together, waiting for Bogdan to assemble everything. We're going to talk about Soviet anthem. So that's the next video that's coming up. And then we'll be making more about part 3 about Ukraine. I already made a video about Ukraine, what I remember in 1980s when the nationalism and whole national movement was just kind of blossoming again, growing up after being oppressed by KGB during the Soviet days. Then second one was early 1990s, what I remember when Ukraine became independent. Hey, Nix, hello. Please let me know if the sound is okay. And part 3 will be aftermath. So, like my impressions, what happened and why did it happen, why Ukrainian independence didn't work out really well for the most of the people. So that will be topic number 3. We got some people joining. So greetings, hello. Thank you for joining me tonight. It was a busy day for me. I was raking leaves. Then I went on a bike ride. Otherwise, news-wise, I have my brother who's right now serving in the Ukrainian army. He got drafted about 6 months ago. So he was asking me if it's possible to raise money to buy some Starlink's communication systems for his unit. So I'll be doing that soon. So if you guys, any of you who are interested to help out Ukrainians and Ukrainian army, that will be a way to do it. So some people are asking questions how to make sure that money won't be stolen. So he get information right now what exactly they need and how much money is going to be. But he's on the communication unit, so he's using Starlink system. He sent me a picture. They anti-drone unit, so they're watching Russian drones, and then they inform people who shoot them down. So then Russians, of course, hunting them, and they're going after the Starlink unit. So that's what we. So I'll try to see if we can raise some money together. I think he said about $500 is that Starlink dish, that second generation. That's what they use. So that will be coming up soon. So we got Aaron from capital of our nations. I assume it's Washington, D.C. Hello. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, let's get it going. Today, instead of water, I'm drinking tea. And did you have barbecue? Well, in Soviet Union, of course, there was not barbecue generally, as I mentioned many times, because we didn't have access to good quality meat. I mean, the best meat would be pork, because otherwise the beef was old retired milk cows, so that the beef was very chewy and not tender. So steaks and stuff like that was really unknown. The closest to the steak will be kebabs, shashliki. They actually cut pieces of meat and you marinate them overnight, and then you put them on a stick and you fry them on open fire. And we call it shashlik. In the West, they usually call it kebab. So that was the closest to not processed meat that we consume. But I don't remember anybody cooking steaks. We had no barbecue sauce. And speaking of barbecue sauce, actually, The first time I tried ketchup was on one of my friend's birthday. I think it was his 16th birthday. So we're talking 1987. Uh, uh, his parents got some ketchup, Bulgarian ketchup, and they had it on the table. And I always like tomato juice. Uh, I like fresh tomato. I like tomato juice. I don't like red sauce like people put on pizza or spaghetti. So when I saw ketchup, I got curious and said, "I'll put it on your uh, meat." Will have sausages or something. I don't remember what. And I tried it. And I was like, "Wow." So yeah, I still big fan of ketchup. Then I discovered, of course, barbecue. Yeah, it's kind of 50-50. But we didn't have barbecue, nothing like that. So yeah, meat wise, that was pretty. Meat was expensive and not a good quality. So yeah, that was a challenge. All right, so we got a question from Mike. Do you know if Bobby Fischer versus Boris Spassky chess match was a big deal in Soviet Union like it was in the West? I think it happened before my time. I don't know what year was it. I assume it was a big deal. Every time there'll be, I think Bobby Fischer's American chess player, right? So anytime there's United States versus Soviet Union, there of course it was a big deal. It was a huge uh, interest to it, but I don't recall honestly. I never liked watching chess. I like playing chess with my friends, but watching chess, reading books about chess and strategies for some reason never got to me. So I never had interest even like watching on TV when they show how the figures move. For some reason, didn't do big to me. The next question: what is better, Tarhun or Citro? I think Tarhun has a unique flavor. If you guys not familiar, I made a video a while back. My kids were actually trying that stuff. Let me see, Soviet pop. I'll put the link. Although, let's see, my Soviet pop kids. See, kids soda maybe. Just a second. In America, you call it pop or soda, and I don't remember what I American teens. Okay, it was not kids, it was teens. Yep. So I have American teens try Soviet sodas. I have the video. So I have two kids on my own. I have two step kids. So my daughter Sasha, she was born in 2000, so she just turned 24 in October. Easy to remember. And my son Oliver, he turned 18 this year. So they were trying pop a couple years ago when I bought. So there's a video. Soviet pop, but I like Tarhun better because it has like unique flavor. Uh, Citro is just like orange soda, really uh, not that special in my opinion. Although Citro was everywhere and it was hard to get. Tarhun was always available like only in big cities like Kiev, Moscow. So yeah, I would say if you want something different flavor wise, I would recommend Tarhun. It has a weird green color, so that's some kind of herb. And I remember the English word for Tarhun, tarragon. Here you go. It's a tarragon. So yeah, it's a tarragon soda. Believe it or not. So if you want something different, I would definitely try that. There's a question from Justin, who's one of members of my channel. Thank you, Justin, for supporting my work. I read a lot about Lake Baikal. Was this holiday destination for people? No, it was not. Uh, it's so far away, and we traveling by plane was expensive, and traveling by train it will take forever. Although we had a whole month vacation, you need to remember that Soviet Union, most of the Soviet Union, especially like a Russian part, there's so much north. So you're talking pretty much the majority of territories like Canada. And so everyone wanted to go in the summer down south towards the Black Sea to get some sun to warm up because our summers otherwise were pretty mild, like, Upper Peninsula, Michigan, like Minnesota back in the day, so cold summer, so some probably hardcore tourist people who wanted to experience that went to Lake Baikal. Now it became a big destination because people have cars, so it's easier to travel. And if you watch the video, I have a video on the Lake Baikal. I had a slideshow. There was Uncle Bill, my distant American relative, who went to Baikal in the early 80s. And you could tell there was nothing going on there, like tourism wise. And now, if you go on Google Maps and you use, that little person you can drop to see the street view, it's packed. It's a huge tourist destination. So now Russians have more money, they have cars, and the tourism kind of growing up rapidly, even inside of the country. But back in the Soviet days, I had a chance to go there as a putyovka, the traveling voucher, but as a teenager, I was too stupid and to appreciate, and so I didn't go anywhere pretty much except Baku, and I have a video about it. So if any chance you missed that video, I'll do Lake Baikal. I'll do the link really quick here. Actually, I scanned a couple more slides of Uncle Bill, Iran, and India. So I'm gonna put it together and we'll post it. Those don't get a lot of views, but I think for people who are interested to see, it was a pre-revolution Iran. Lake Baikal slideshow. So yeah, this is 1980s, and you will see there's basically sleepy villages. There's only people who there were taking pictures was American tourists. So yeah, okay, here we go. So, all right, so we got already almost 50 people joining. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Don't forget to like this live. Hopefully, one of the lives will become popular. Right now, channel kind of went back into hibernation, back to sleep. It's barely growing. We're almost at 110,000 subscribers. All right, let's see what else we got. So we got an interesting question. What is the difference between Russia occupied Ukraine versus Ukraine? I'm not sure if I understand your question. Ukraine, unfortunately, it's one of those situations. It has a great location, but it was always had such a powerful neighbors from all the sides. Russia from the east and north, Poland from the west. Then you had Austro-Hungarian Empire. Down south was Turkey. So Ukraine was always like partially occupied by different other countries, and so and as they grow up and down power, Poland at some point disappeared, got occupied by Russia. But what we can see looking back under Russia, they were trying to basically destroy Ukrainian culture, Ukrainian language, and turn Ukrainians into Russians. There's a long list. I'm planning to make a video about it. Researchers put together a list of all the laws, starting like from Peter the Great, Russian emperor, who first guy who actually called Russia Russia before there was just Moscovia, right? Moscow was kind of capital. It was the dukes, tsars, Moscow Tsar, Moscovia, and he didn't like that name, so he said, "I have an empire, and it's called Russian Empire, Russia." So starting from him, there were law after law, banning printing religious books in Ukrainian, uh, banning having religious services in Ukrainian, banning language in schools, banning teaching in colleges and school universities. Over the years, this on and on was banning Ukrainian language. So they have worked really hard to dissolve the Ukrainian culture and nation just to make them also Russian. So that's one of the biggest problems. And Soviets, although they kind of condemned what the Tsars did, they continued the same policy. You probably know that I grew up as a Russian speaking Ukrainian. My both parents were Ukrainians, came to the capital of Ukraine, Kiev, switched from Ukrainian to Russian. Pretty much all the schools in Kiev were Russian schools, like Russian language schools. So you learn all the subjects in Russian language, and then we had Ukrainian. So we started learning Russian language before we started learning Ukrainian language in Ukraine, in the capital of Ukraine. So that's how bad it was by 1970s. So yeah. So Mac asking a question. I'm a dairy farmer. What were dairy farms like? Well, we didn't have a specialized dairy farms. We had collective farms, kolkhoz. So pretty much you have a village. We didn't have a. This is a huge difference between American farming and like Soviet farming, and before that, like Russian farming. People lived in the villages. It's kind of like that in Europe everywhere. You don't have a separate farms. People lived in the villages because it goes back from the serf times when you had a landowner and he had serfs, and landowner owns the village, owns all the land, and serfs work for him. So that's kind of continued. So people, even if they had their own land, they live in the village and then they travel to their field, and they harvest wheat or potatoes, and they'll have a couple of cows. And then when Stalin introduced collective farms in 1930s, forced everyone to be a part of collective farm, work together. So every collective farm will have a small milk farm. So they will have maybe 20 cows, 30 cows. And I will post the link. I talked to my distant relative in Ukraine. She worked as the milkmaid. So I have a video about from her labor book so that you could see what she was getting paid and how much she worked. A link is coming up right now. I'll just call it Milk Farm, but it's Milk Collective Farm. So yeah, and the main problem with collective farms, they had collective farms had one customer, government, right? So when you have a one customer, uh, that customer will tell you what price they will pay. Government was a monopoly, so collective farms really didn't make any money. Most of them were really even not profitable, or they just were paid enough to buy new equipment or maintain equipment and buy fuel. They even didn't have money to pay their collective farm workers. So there was like almost like modern day slavery. Collective farm workers were required to work at the farm for the check mark on their workbook, and they're required to work 200 days a year. It was a requirement, regardless you getting paid or not. And sometimes they'll give farmers workers like hay or straw or potatoes, whatever they have extra crops, because they had no money. So yeah, I posted right there so you can look. Okay, so next question from Redneck Philosopher. I love your nickname. Could you be religious in the Soviet Union when you was a child and adult? Just curious. Depending when. Originally, the Soviets went hardcore, trying to destroy religion. So they were burning churches or shutting churches down, taking, stealing literally, all the precious metals, melting bells and crosses. But then when Hitler attacked Soviet Union in 1941, and Stalin realized that the Soviet soldiers don't want to fight for him, they made like a huge, basically 180, and started promoting the original traditional values, including, we're fighting for the right cause against dark evil, and they brought church back in. So after World War II, or we call it Great Patriotic War, it was slowly kind of becoming easier to attend the church, but still it was mostly old people. But yeah, I was baptized. I was born in 1971, but my parents baptized was nothing like underground. Don't tell anyone. I had official, not I don't know about official, but I had my godfather and godmother. I never attended church. I don't grow up religious. My parents either. My mom became religious later when she got old for a short period of time. But I remember my grandma telling stories that when in the 30s, when they were still going to church, the teacher will be standing by the entry to the church, basically offering free child care. Just like, please don't take your kid to church, because if my manager find out that my kids from my class go to church, I'll get in trouble. So she will babysit kids while parents go to church. So but yeah, in 80s was not a big deal. But then of course after collapse of Soviet Union, it was became super trendy to be religious, attend church. People even like if they buy a brand new car, they'll drive to church. and pay money to have the church being sprinkled with holy water for good luck. I mean, literally, it's just like ridiculous. But yeah, so yeah, you could be religious if you wanted to. The main challenge, of course, was that for people who wanted to, like for example, Seventh-day Adventist or traditional Orthodox Jews, they don't do anything on Sabbath, on Saturday, but we went to school on Saturday. So those kids will have a hard time because if they be skipping school on Saturdays, they'll have a problem with grades. So they still have to go to school, attend the school, although, their parents wanted them to be in church. Okay, see what else we got here. Sisters here, hello, shalom. Question from Soviet Union. Do you think Soviet Union was good or bad or both? Um, I mean, it was a good idea. I don't know how much, uh, like, what was in Lenin's mind, but I think Lenin, Stalin, they used Soviet Union as a platform to spread communism all over the world. They failed. So all this, so amount of sacrifices that people in Russia, Ukraine, and other Soviet republics had to suffer and go through for this idea to make the entire world communist. It really turned out to be not worth it. There were a lot of good things. I mean, like in '70s, it was like I have only good memories about my childhood. It was safe. Uh, Equality was reached by making everyone poor. So I mean, for some people, like yeah, if they are poor in America, it's definitely not comfortable. You constantly worry about you're being kicked out of your house or apartment. So there's a lot of stress. In Soviet Union, there was no stress about housing because it was once you get it, of course, because you may have like my parents faced 20-year waiting list for an apartment. But once you get an apartment, it was so cheap, like 10% of your income or even less if you're a family. So like it was bizarre to read in newspapers that Americans like, they have, I enjoy getting mail and they're scared to get mail because there'll be bills, past dues and being evicted. That was just wild. We didn't have that problem. So that was nice. But the price of this equality that everyone was poor, except of course party officials, because engineers, everyone was pretty much getting the same, paid the same, about 150 rubles a month, no matter what you do, unless you do some kind of shady deals on the side, like taxi drivers or waitresses. So yeah, we were just a country of poor, equally poor workers. So even my family, both parents worked full time. Both were labor union members. We couldn't even dream about buying a car. It was just completely not even discussed. And we still struggled financially. Of course, as a kid, I didn't realize that. But that was, yeah. I talked to when I started talking to my mom. She's like, "Yeah, Sergey, we always struggled. We always everything we bought were on payments." She tried to save some money, and in 20 years of marriage, my parents got married in 1970. They managed to save like 5,000 rubles all those years, working full time, labor union members, no car, so yeah, it's more bad probably than good. And a lot of people asking why it was so bad, why so many people still miss Soviet Union. I started searching after slavery was abolished in the United States. There was a lot of slaves that were wanted to go back to slavery because they were lost. They had free housing, 100% employment, free meals. They didn't have to worry about tomorrow. And suddenly they have to make their own decisions, do everything on their own, and they were shocked. And a lot of people couldn't figure out how to live. So you can apply some logic to people in former Soviet Union. We were like a dodo birds that suddenly need to learn how to fly, and many people didn't know how to learn. So, but a lot of people got successful, earned money, started traveling. I didn't do really the great, but I still, I managed to learn English on my own. Managed to get an exchange program, come to America, work in the summer camps. My life changed drastically in a positive way. There's no way I'll be able to do all that if the Soviet Union still existed. But of course, older people who spent all their life in the Soviet Union said, I mean, it's not really a nice way to say it, but dodo birds. My dad, he just couldn't do anything. He still went to work even they didn't pay him for 6 months. Still like just was hanging out there, even there was no work. He was no entrepreneurship spirit or nothing like that. My mom did some, she was making pies at home, selling on the streets. But yeah, a lot of people were like my dad. They were lost. They just didn't know what to do. Okay, next question from Steven. Let's see what we got. Let's see, you just jump on me. Sorry. Speaking of low quality meats, did you ever experience doctor sausage? Oh, so what was that like? If you want to experience doctor sausage, doctorская колбаса, just buy any bologna. That's bologna. That's exactly the same thing. It's flavor, everything. It's just a bologna. It's called doctorская колбаса. I think originally was a recipe to like have a mild meat for people who were like sick, recover, but then it just became almost like a brand. Yeah, if you try doctorская колбаса, buy bologna. Uh, I buy it periodically. I don't know, once in a great while when I shop for groceries. I just have cravings for bologna and I buy it. And my wife is mad at me because she said it's full of junk and it's just, not healthy for you. But I just like, man, it just sounds good. And I discovered, bologna sandwich. I, we just used, bread, butter, and bologna. So butterbrot, right? But yeah, I just do mayo and bologna and bologna sandwich and with tomato juice. I really like it. So yeah, and that's one thing. Over steak, I would prefer to have a sausage or bologna. So it just question: what was your favorite food in the Soviet Union? Well, it was not in the Soviet Union. Favorite food it was your mom cooked. And my mom didn't enjoy cooking. She told me like, I just had to cook because I had to feed you guys. So we ate a lot of soups and borsches. So I didn't say it was like my favorite, but sirniki, I think I like those a lot. It's farmer's cheese mixed with flour and then fried, and it's kind of like sweet with powdered sugar. It's so good. I think we might have a video. My wife kind of learned how to do it. Sirniki, nope. Let's see if the cooking will come up. Maybe I have about. Let's see. She got borsches. Oh yeah, sirniki. So Ukrainian sirniki. There's a video coming up. I got lucky with my American wife. She likes to cook and she's really good. So when my mom came to visit or when she watched her cooking, they cooked together and my wife kind of like picked up the idea and then she Americanized, used American ingredients. So she cooks periodically, makes me, soup or borscht. So yeah, I grew up eating up soup every day for lunch. It was like just the way it was. It was really wild to switch to American diet. You guys barely eat anybody's soups. I hardly see anyone touching them. You see them for sale in a can, but of course it's not. So they'll be called, I don't know, cheese patties. How about that? Cheese patties. So that's the recipe. If you guys want to try it, so it's patties. Yeah, so yeah, I met my wife on blind date, and she asked me if I like borscht, and I was like, "Wow, how you're cute, and you know what borscht is." And then on our second day, she actually cooked me borscht. So yeah, I fell in love pretty quickly. It's what is it called? The way to a man's heart goes through his stomach. So and also I like vareniki. In America, you guys call it pirogi, but in the summer, vareniki with fresh strawberries or fresh. Um, Alpine strawberries out of woods or with fresh blueberries out of woods. Not this American blueberry the size of grapes. It's actually little tiny blueberries that grow in the woods. They have intense, crazy, delicious flavor. So in the summer, when you have freshly picked and you have vareniki pierogies with them, and then sour cream and tea. Oh my god, those were good. So yeah, I'll say that was probably my favorite. Always like, I'm a meat and potato guy. Always like fried potatoes, sunflower oil and fried potatoes. Oh, anyways, I'm glad I'm not hungry. I just ate my dinner, so I can tell you. So, but I said my mom didn't enjoy cooking, and I grew up eating leftovers. Is pretty much she'll make a big pot of soup, and we eat that soup every day till the pot is empty. Then she make another borscht. Then we eat that borscht for another 4 or 5 days. Then be another, pea soup or cabbage soup, or all kinds. And it was just, so I kind of like a human garbage can here at home. Most kids don't like eating leftovers, and that's what I do. I constantly clean up eating leftovers. All right. Did Soviet Union air American shows such as Gillian's Island or Good Times? No, absolutely no. No pro wrestling. We had no American shows whatsoever. Only during Perestroika and Glasnost, then we started getting some shows. The most bizarre show, and the very first like a TV series that came up on the Soviet TV was actually from Brazil. Rabinya Isaura, so it's a slave Isaura, and that was my gosh, the whole country was insane. I'll give you the link if you didn't see it. Let's see, show. Nope. Series. I can't find it, unfortunately. See if I'll do Isaura. Nope. Brazil. Try one more time. Can't locate it. I know I have it. I just had somebody post a comment on it. Let's see real quick. But then, of course, they started showing Twin Peaks. I remember but that was after Soviet Union was gone. Uh, I think, Santa Barbara was huge. Santa Barbara was really, really popular. Didn't watch that. Okay, let me see. I'll find it right now because I had somebody posted a comment about. Okay, Deep Impact, cheesy soap opera. Here you go. So this is link coming up. That's the one. Was, yeah. Holy cow! My mom, bless her heart. Uh, I didn't watch it. I found it cheesy right away, but yeah. So Brazil. Excuse me. Brazil soap opera. There we go. Yeah, and there's one American show, and of course X Files, but that was like already what 1995 or 94, right? That's the one first TV series I really got hooked on, and one of the rare ones that I really want to watch it. I'm thinking about watching it again was X Files, but that's like late 90s. But in the early 90s, it was bizarre. They showed, keep on forgetting the name of that TV show. It's a number of zip code 91305 or whatever. Beverly Hills zip code or something. No, not Beverly Hills. They showed it like a movie. They literally took a couple of episodes and just show it like a short movie. And it's like they moving from Minnesota or Michigan to California, and they walk around. It's Christmas time. There's no snow or Christmas trees. And then this girl and the brother go to new high school. I still remember because I found the girl. I kind of I really like her. Put it that way. She was so cute. Whatever her name is, I say I'm bad with names, so I'm not really in the show. But then it's like she starts going to high school, and she kind of see the guy she likes, and you feel like, okay, you feel like it's gonna be really interesting now. And it was like end of show. That's it. And I was like, what happened? It's like I feel it should be more. And they just show this little episode. They put together a couple of shows, and they showed this one movie. So that was pretty interesting. Okay, I want to say thank you for Steven Jackson. He gifted honestly, maybe, but thank you, Steven, so much. So yeah, if one of the ways you can support my show is to become a member. since the YouTube doesn't like some of my videos and they block monetization. And otherwise, of course, you can click on the bottom there. There's a super, call it, what is it called? Or super thanks, or it's just like a donation button, and then I'll answer your question first of all. All right, so let's see. So we talked about shows. Redneck philosopher asking, do you consider communism a failed ideology? Well, first of all, we will get there sooner or later, believe it or not, because it has logic to it, right? In my opinion, it doesn't work for with regular people. If we'll get there, it's like socialism. It's a perfect system for perfect people, but there's just not enough perfect people to implement, and it fails every time. And communism is the next stage. So we never tried communism. Nobody knows how it works. Um, so I wouldn't say it failed ideology because we never reached it. You could just call Christianity as a failed religion because Jesus never showed up, right? And people who, hold the Bible, call themselves Christian, but they act in not what Jesus told them to act like. But the general idea, which I agree with, we as a humans, as a society, as a humankind, we change because our means of productions improve. Like we went from one stage to another stage, not because we became better people, just because previous stage became less efficient and not making any sense anymore. So at some point, using slaves just became less productive than using, you know, giving land to peasants, and they do that. Then, of course, when capitalism came up, then feudalism made no sense. So and then of course the industrial revolution, and suddenly there's someone come up with the idea, what about we stop using kids at the factories, or what about if the women can get similar rights? It's not like we've suddenly become more human. It's just as means of production improve, people have extra time. They don't have to kill themselves from early morning to late night. So the logic of communism, as Marx came up with it, right? That eventually means of production will develop so much that there'll be plenty of everything, so you don't need money anymore. There'll be automatic factories or whatever producing stuff, and people won't need, huge houses and expensive cars. It'd be different. So, and we're constantly kind of moving almost like from the back door. There's constant attempts to, with UBI, universal basic income, it's pretty much implementing communism in a different way, because communism is no government, no money, and so everything is so developed. They said we don't need to. If you don't have to work, then want to work, you don't need to. You more spend time, you know, enjoying yourself and making the world a better place. But I said it's just the reality is it just doesn't work. Like we even tried socialism and it fails every time. It's just people, it's just their nature. They will kill themselves on their own little plot of land because it's theirs and they work for themselves. And then you put them all together in a collective farm and it just falls apart because they just don't want to work for free. They're way less productive. And then they go in the evening and work again in their little plot like my grandparents, because they grow up, they want to feed themselves. They want to sell, maybe give their kids. So you have the super productive tiny private lots and just overgrown with weeds collective farm fields. So it's just, idea it sounds good, but it just you can't implement in reality yet. But if we'll have automatic combines, automatic robots doing all the agriculture, I don't know. So we got donation from James. Thank you so much. You're also always very supportive. So he donated $5. Thank you. And a question: in the USSR, did apartments have own bathrooms or communal bathrooms and showers? Well, when I was growing up it was a family dorms. Actually, the one floor was family dorms. Otherwise, it was the regular dorms. And in dorms, you have just room, you know, people share the room, two families or four single people. And then they have one bathroom for entire floor with several stalls, squat style. And then they have a communal kitchen. Apartment buildings usually had their own. So, like Khrushchevka style apartments, they had a so-called joint bathroom. So you have a toilet and sink and a tub in one room. And then Brezhnev era apartments, they were bigger, and they would have a, which considers better, separate, like little tiny room where it's just a toilet. It's like our apartment had, and then you have another small room. Will have a sink and a tub, and then a shower. So communal were used only, or like old apartment buildings built in the 30s or 40s. They had only cold water in the kitchen and had no bathroom at all. Then yeah, well, no, it didn't have a bathroom like a bathtub. I stayed when, if you watch my video when I went to Leningrad in 1986 when Chernobyl blew up. Uh, my friend's grandmother, she lived in this old four-story apartment or three-story apartment, and it was bizarre. I never had that experience. They had only cold water, and she had a bathroom, just small tiny room with a toilet, nothing else, and there was a kitchen sink. So yeah, there was no like bathtub and a sink. It was only a sink in the kitchen and a little bathroom, no hot water. So if you want to go wash yourself, you need to go to public like banya, saunas, whatever, showers, wash there. So people do it once a week. So yeah, that was those. So yeah, James, I hope I answered your question, and thank you so much for your support. Okay, I'm gonna get another sip of my tea. So there's a comment about the American cities versus Soviet cities. Uh, you see, depending on which part you're talking about, you go to the old parts of the cities like Kiev, Moscow, that were built before revolution. Once again, when the people were still riding horses, you know, that was outdated. Let's say no hot water, whatever. And then the newer parts that was built already by architects. So that's a big difference. In the United States, you have a private developers that they build not like by the central planning. I guess in the cities it's better to have central planning, so they'll develop new area and they know how many kindergartens they need for this amount of population, how many schools, how many stores. I mean, it's another question what you got in those stores. And since hardly anyone had cars, it was all like, okay, we have 100,000 people going to live in this area, so we need to have so many bus lanes, trolley buses going there. So in that regards, yes, centrally planned cities work better versus this hodgepodge, you know, development that somebody was just decided to build high scraper here. But now people suffer because they have no room to park their cars. Soviet cities were designed for pedestrians because we were poor people. We couldn't afford cars. So I remember like our building, we had 36. So there's areas we had one, two. So 36 times 4, right, is like, what is 120 plus. So about 144 apartments, whatever. And I had parking spot for literally 10 cars. For 144 apartments, 10 car parking spot. That's it. So now when pretty much every other family have a car, there's no parking spots. It's a nightmare. So for the Soviet times, Soviet cities work good. And once again, because we had so little cars, we hardly have any traffic jams. So traveling, I mean, it was slow, but once again, I don't miss Soviet cities. Now I live in Michigan. I get in my car in the morning, drive out the garage, the car is warm, and drink my coffee and listen to my book on CDs. Do you think I miss public transportation in Ukraine? No, hell no. walking 10 minutes to the bus stop, staying on the bus stop for another 10 minutes, then cram yourself in the bus, riding for 20 minutes, and it's literally distance 5 miles. It takes you 40 minutes to, get 5 miles. I drive to work 32 miles. I'm there in 35 minutes. Doesn't matter, morning or evening, I get there. So yeah, I prefer this. I know it's like, public transportation, it's less pollution, but I'm telling you, it's nice to have your own car and no traffic jams. So, question about uh, Baikal was a drink. Yeah, Lake Baikal was a Soviet answer to Pepsi. It was not as tasty as Pepsi, but it's a dark kind of color. Had some similarities, but they use herbs instead of chemicals and caramel color. It was even more expensive than Pepsi. I think I bought some for kids. No one liked it. In that video I provided when they tried, I think they tried Baikal and they were not impressed. Let's see. So, classic example, there's a conversation about homelessness in the Soviet Union. It was illegal to be homeless, okay? So, if they'll find you on the street, they'll pick you up, put you in prison. It's really easy to take care of homelessness same way in America. Make it illegal, and everyone will end up being in prison, and streets will be empty. So, this whole conversation about homeless people, and okay, we'll talk about it because this stuff bothers me constantly when I talk to on this topic. I came to America with $50 in my pocket. I didn't speak good English. I didn't know anybody, not a family member, no friend. I mean, my cousin lived in LA. I never lived on the streets and never was homeless. I always found a way to stay or with friends. I met people. So I personally, it's my opinion. I honestly, I don't know how is it possible to be homeless in America. Like you're American citizen, you can work anywhere, right? You don't need to find places that hire legal immigrants or whatever. You speak fluent English, and you have relatives. If you're in America, you probably have parents or siblings. Like, how bad could be situation between you and your friends, your siblings, your parents? They don't allow you to stay with them. Like, this is what I totally don't understand. Like, there could be some serious issues with drugs or alcohol or whatever, because you know I stayed. I met I met people at the market when I worked at Tremendous Food Farm back in the 90s. I met this couple Armenians from Beer Springs where I live right now, and through them they're like, yeah, we know a guy who in remodeling, and he's looking for helpers. So I met the guy, Andre, and we talked to him, and he's like, yeah, you can live at my place. I need helpers, and I understand you don't have a house, this and that, and you don't have ways to rent. Sure, you can. So I lived at his house. We drove together to work. I give them money to buy groceries together. I never lived on the streets, and I said, so it's a tough topic, but it's just when people complain about homeless people on the streets, it's like, if it's too expensive for you to rent, move to different state. I mean, U-Haul is available. Save some money. It's just like there's illegal immigrants, Mexicans coming to the country. They stay by Home Depots. They get jobs every day. Somehow they don't live in the carton boxes on the streets. So you have the situation when Americans are homeless on the streets and unemployed, and then we have this Mexicans that getting jobs everywhere in the house, in construction and roofing, picking peaches. I worked. Everyone else was Mexican when I worked at the farm and at the orchard. And they all were legal. They were not homeless. The homeless because farmer provided them with a camper, trailer. So this complaining about, I it's I'm getting like really frustrated discussing this topic, because like there should be the reason why you're on the street. Like, why your own parents won't accept you. I mean there could be a case that maybe you're don't have parents like the Oprahs, right? But like most people have parents, and they don't want you to live with them. You live on the street, there's something seriously wrong with you. Okay, sorry about this emotional detour, but it's like it's from Reddit. On Reddit, it's all the time this. But what about unemployment? What about homelessness? Like my mom lived for 4 years or something in the kindergarten that she worked. Still, she found a way to. It was in Ukraine. Like she couldn't find any housing, so she asked if it's okay if she sleeps in the kindergarten where she worked. It's kind of like being homeless. I lived in the market on the loft, freezing my ass. If you read my books, American Diaries, I didn't have home. It's like literally boxes with supplies, and I'm here on the mattress sleeping, no heater, nothing, temperatures almost the same as outside. Okay, I apologize. I got carried away. I'm sorry. Were there pipe smoking? Maybe some. Comrade Stalin liked pipe smoking, but I didn't see a lot of pipe smoking. It was just like intelligentsia thing. Cigarettes, or if people had their own tobacco, like my grandpa, they just used newspaper and rolled the tobacco and they smoked. And if you're interested in that topic, we will give you a link to my video. So, tobacco. So, I have a video called Smoking in the USSR, and it's actually got a lot of views. Let me see where we're at on it. I don't have a single video, guys, that reached 1 million views yet. But tobacco smoking has 233,000. And my most popular video is about Chernobyl, and that one has only 730 some thousand views, but not a single video of Comrade Sergey after what, I don't know how many years. I don't know how many of you guys are with me from the beginning. I think I'm doing Ushanka show maybe for 9 years or 8 years. Not a single video reached 1 million views. It's kind of depressing sometimes, but tobacco USSR. There we go. So yeah, you had a question about pipe smoking, Mac. There's a link. A question from Rodri. Thank you for being a member of my show. Bikini was allowed inside. Yeah, one two piece. I mean, I don't know how much bikini, but yeah, two piece was allowed. No problem there. Wouldn't have a police measuring, all that stuff. And actually, I remember one time. I guess there was 87, maybe 88. So kind of towards the end of the Soviet Union. But I was teenager, paying more attention to pretty girls. So I was at the Dnieper River in the summer with a buddy of mine. So we went on the beach and we were taking a ferry. And so there was this gorgeous girl in bikini, two of us, an old lady. And this old lady, babushka, she just started berated this chick that she looks like a whore. And my gosh, we stood up like grandma, shut the hell up. She looks good. There's nothing about her to look whore. She's just gorgeous, and if she's pretty, she can show it. You just should shut your pie hole. We were actually pretty rude, but we're so happy to protect that girl. To like feels good. She smiled to us, and like it melted my heart. I'm a weak man. All right. Okay, we got another donation from Bill. Hello, Bill. Thank you so much for your support. Appreciate it. We got some Canadians here. Bill one, thank you so much. What was your last assignment for KGB? That's a good one. Yeah, didn't have a chance to get hired there, but I use that all the time. My hardhead used to say KGB on it. My radio at work has KGB, so everyone knows it belongs to me. KGB, yeah. Okay, so we got next one. Good evening, Sergey. You did explain car ownership. My question is, how did one apply for driver's license in the USSR? Well, obviously, you need to have a driver's license before you get a car. It was pretty challenging. It was pretty hard too. I need to make a video on this topic. I keep on forgetting it's on my list. But you need to go through courses, and it's courses not just to study traffic rules, right? Like all the signage, правила дорожного движения, PDD. So besides knowing all that, what the signs means, pass, no pass zones, you also study the car. Like you need to know how the engine works. So there was extra stuff, and that was like in America, it's unheard of. No one learns how the automatic transmission works. So, and I think it was kind of like once again, it was hard to get in. But said my family never even thought about owning a car. I did try to get into truck driving. So if you watch my videos about Soviet education, I think it was a eighth, ninth, and a 10th grade. So we go to school at 7, and after the 8th grade, no, I guess it was ninth and 10, we have a UPK. So that's like we had a labor training since early days, like 4th grade, but then it's you just start learning some kind of profession. So they give you a choice, like, hey, we have these options. You can learn to be a truck driver or welder, maybe. I don't remember what was for girls. So everyone wanted, of course, to get it into driving, but they had limited amounts. I didn't get it. Another friend of mine did, and he got a driver's license to be a truck driver. And I think they did that so they have more truck drivers in army, because that was a problem. Soviet army had a problem. They had a lot of vehicles, a lot of tanks, right? But since not many people had cars, it was hard to get enough drivers. In America, it's like everyone is a driver. So if people get drafted, so let's say everyone said, say, hey, get in Jeep, and people start driving. So the Soviet army basically like we need more drivers before they get drafted. So there was a big push, one of them from this labor training schools, to get boys into the trucks, teach them how to drive, well, generally manual, of course, so they can drive trucks when they get drafted in the army. But yeah, I got as a talker, I can't tell you what's it, let me see. I'm gonna use Google Translate the talker profession. So it's working with the metal. I didn't want it, but it was the only one available. So, but then in the end, it turned out pretty good. Talker по-английски. It says Turner, but it's not Turner. So LATH operator Latha, but it was working with metal was like a basic, stuff. So that's what was my labor. But yeah, I need to make a video about driver's license education. I like. There's a comment. I bet Soviet TV had a lot of channels to watch. We had 3 channels. Central channel from Moscow, and 2 local Ukrainian channels in Kiev. Out in the country, 2 channels. Central channel and 1 Ukrainian channel. So yeah, a lot of channels. So might as well tell you. And I had a video on this topic, but since we have 3 channels, and on 9 p.m. 2100 on all 3 channels there'll be the same news program, Программа Время, time news program. I'll put the link. So it's kind of funny, right? No matter what channel you're watching, at 9 o'clock they'll show you exactly the same news. And we had this joke that a guy like, I don't want to watch news. So he's back in the day, there's a selector switch. So he boom, changes to channel number 2, same программа Время. So he changes to channel number 3, same программа Время. So he's like, okay, he knows there's only 3 channels, but he's like, I'll try. So he switches to channel number 4, and there's a KGB officer. Stop switching channels and start watching news. So yeah, speaking about how many channels, and that was all over the air, no cable, that was all unknown, but no advertising too. So that was a great part. I see we have another donation, but let me quickly do the link. Soviet television. Soviet TV. Fun facts about Soviet television. So we have this video, kind of old one too. It's almost like I need to start making them all over again. Has only 88,000 views. So yeah, watching Soviet TV. There's a link below. Soviet TV. Well, we're kind of moving towards 100 visitors. Thank you so much, everyone, who joined me tonight. I hope you guys had a good weekend. And I need to say thank you to Sister. Thank you so much for your donation. I appreciate it. You're always a great help, and I always thankful for that present you sent me. We enjoyed lard a lot. It's kind of interesting. You tell everyone shalom, but you send me pork, so it's pretty cool. Okay, so was it weird for you converting to the imperial measuring system? Oh my gosh. Thank you for asking this question. It wasn't weird, it was painful. It was a pain, and you know what? Because when I married my wife, and then I worked in remodeling for a while, and then I started working for my in laws, and guess what? They were selling carpet, right? As a flooring. So one of my jobs was to go to the customers' places and measure their homes for flooring. And sweet Jesus, holy cow, I wanted to cry because they showed me, and I was like, "What the f is this? Why is it a 12 inches in a foot? Why there's a 3 feet in a yard? What the hell is going on here?" It was just like, can you just do meter by meter, 10 centimeters, 100 centimeters, everything divides by 10? Yeah, that was nightmare. Like, temperature is a different story, right? Fahrenheit also makes not much sense. Celsius better. Water freezing at zero, water boils at 100. When the normal body temperature 36.6. But yeah, this measuring for flooring and square feet and square yards, nine. Oh my god, that was so bad. Took me forever to get used to. So yeah, it was bad. I finally, figure out, found shortcuts how to do quarters. Six and a quarter. But oh man, that was bad. Like, yeah, I don't know. I know it'll never happen, but the meters are so much better, and also having it 24 hours in a day, not AM PM. And we got Comrade KP. Thank you for your donation. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Hey, Serge. During USSR, what was going on in with Dagestan and Chechnya? Was the population as religious as it now? I'm not sure because, of course, I never visited those places, but they definitely were keeping. Religion exploded quite drastically after the collapse of the Soviet Union, but looks like Muslim religion was less affected by the Soviets than, for example, Christian religion. But Chechens, right away, like after collapse of Soviet Union, they showed up in all big cities like Moscow, Kiev, and they were like a mafia. They were giving hard time local guys. So the local mafia was always against Chechen mafia. That was pretty much, they were like the most craziest guys. And they bring those dudes from some mountain villages, and they don't care about losing life. And they, anything problem, they go and start, pull the knives out. So they were hardcore. So yeah, that was a big challenge for the local racketeers dealing with all the Chechen mafias, because they were holding. If you watch the movie Brat, right, the brother, they show that part about all these issues that the local guys in Moscow, I think it was Moscow, right, facing against Chechen. So the whole show, Brat movie, is about that. But I don't know about religion. I think they became more religion as after the end of Soviet Union, but that was just always hardcore and not the brightest bulbs or sharpest knives and drawers. I remember, I'm not sure was there. I think it was Chechens. So we had this local mafia guy, racketeer in Kiev in the mid '90s. It's classic. Had a big Mercedes, all that, and so this guy decided to kill him, and so they got RPG, and the dude had a armored Mercedes, but still, RPG. Maybe it will survive AK-47, but not RPG. As the story goes, of course, I wasn't there, but the guy said that it was attempt, to kill this Saloha, I think it was named. He was well known, like entire Kiev. Everyone knew that he was like holding half of the Kiev under control, so they wanted to get rid of him. So there's two guys, one holding RPG, second guy behind him held him into guide when they were trying to shoot into Mercedes. And so RPG was faulty. So when he shoots, guy behind gets his head blown off by the the jet stream, and RPG blows up in hand. So one guy loses like his arm and a shoulder, second guy loses his head. So that was a Chechen attempt, instead of a. So it was a more like a suicide instead of a attempt to kill that Saloha guy. But that was like it became like a not a joke, but like a laugh of whole key of like, hey, did you hear about those two Chechens? They tried to kill Saloha, ha ha ha. So yeah, you guys are bringing all those good memories back. I mean, I say good, I'm just being sarcastic. Question from Neil. Since you didn't have good quality non-processed meat, did you eat more fish, fresh fish? Oh, I know the Soviets had a large fishing fleet. Well, my friend, if you have a large fishing fleet, you will never get fresh fish, right? Because you have to freeze that fish. And they were going after anything possible. I guess I don't remember. I never touched salmon in my life till I came to America. So salmon, I never seen it. The only fresh fish people could buy in the cities was carp. Carp that was raised in the ponds, and they brought them on the tankers and sell to us. So yeah, when I see that Americans consider carp as a trash fish, I ate a lot of fresh fish because every summer in the village I'll be fishing. So whatever we catch in the river was not a sports fishing. There's another thing that drives me nuts in America that people catch fish and let it go, catch and release. I was like, it's almost like you bring a girl home, undress her, look at her naked, then say, okay, put your clothes back on, I'll take you home. This is catch and release type of fishing. I know it's a horrible comparison. So yeah, carp, but yeah, I ate pike, I ate all kinds of fish because we're constantly fishing all summer long. So I had plenty of fresh fish, but wasn't because it was provided. And we got Steven Jackson. Thank you so much. Thank you for your donation and thank you for being a member of my show, of my channel. A friend of mine bought a random Amazon crate. I never heard of that stuff. He gave me the stuff because he couldn't use any of it. Inside it was a cheap samovar. Have you ever had samovar? If you guys not familiar, samovar is just like this metal fancy tank with handles so you can carry it. You fill it with water in the bottom. Well, now it's electric samovar, so you plug it in. It has a boil, so it boils water. Originally, I had a little coal, so you burn coal, and it boils the water, and then you pour in the saucer hot water and you drink tea. No, we never had samovar. It's kind of like it was became more like a souvenir in my years, and it's more like a 1800s, early 1900s. That was a big thing. They put samovar in the middle of the room. Chai pitya. They used to be like drinking. They drink tea so hot that they need to have it on a saucer. They blow it, they sip it, and they bite sugar. Like they bite sugar, sip tea. Yeah, never. I never like used samovar in my life. Okay, moving along. Question: Have you ever had BSI and absinthe liquor? No, I don't think so. I plan to make a video. We had apparently in the Soviet Union. We had a bottle of it. We had this from Egypt. We had a liquor called Abu Simbel, and it was I guess Soviet Union sent to Egypt weapons. In exchange, we got this weird liquor called Abu Simbel, and I remember that bottle was looked cool, and it was kind of like that type of liquor, herb liquor. I'm not sure. It was pretty strong stuff, but no, I never heard that. I kind of cutting down drinking. It turned out to be it's bad for you. And all my life when I was a kid, for some reason I had this dream that one day I'll have a big bar with all this cool selection, all the drinks. Now I can buy anything I want, but I was like, whatever. I still like Bloody Mary once in a while. I like sweet wine. I don't drink beer at all. I hate taste of beer. So okay. So once again, comment from Soviet Union 1986. Communism is nice. Well, paradise is nice too. It's about what communism is. You don't need to work. There's a food. You walk on clouds, and then yeah, communism is nice. Yep. So yeah, question. Yeah, no pro wrestling, nothing like that. I mean, we had just regular wrestling. That there's some things about government control. I guess it's like I really like be nice not to have commercials, right? But it's how the whole thing runs. I mean, I make money on YouTube because of mostly commercials. You know, subscription help, and I appreciate all my members that subscribe to my channel. But most money come from commercials. It's just unfortunately that's the ugly reality. So when the government pays all the bills for TV stations of course don't care what they show because doesn't matter. They're getting their bills paid and don't have any bills. But if you watch TV, at least like when you show movies on TV, please don't stop them in the middle and still show commercials. Okay, you show commercials in the beginning of the movie, show in the end. Don't break them in the middle because that was my first impression. I was horrified when they finally started showing. They basically pirated some British channel, Super Channel, I think it was called. So we had this three channels. Suddenly, this channel number four in 1992, maybe 93, and they just beaming British channel on like TV, right, on the local TV broadcast, and it was like brand new world. I was so excited, and I'm watching this western, don't remember what, and suddenly in the middle of the movie, they started showing commercials of toothpaste. And oh my god, I felt so violated because like I'm in this movie, like okay, the guy with the gun jump on the train, and they stopped the show and they started showing Aquafresh, and oh, I got so mad. I was like, I can't believe this. How can you do that? So moving along with your comments. Wrote a comments. In reality, Poland colonized Ukraine. This is why a lot of Russian-speaking people fled to the left bank of the Dnieper. I don't know about flooding because if there was like I don't know if there was any Russian speaking people on that side anyway. Uh, the main problem with Polish was because they were Catholic and Ukrainians were Orthodox. So that was the main issue. That's always religion. So they were trying to turn Ukrainians into Catholics, and then of course along the way Polonization, trying to switch them to Polish language. So that's I'm planning to make videos because people keep on asking about the video about Stepan Bandera, and as part of the conversation, we need to talk about Polonization. Just like on the Russian side was Russification, on the Polish side was Polonization. And we have this expression. It's the same balls, just from a different, this way or this way, but it's the same problem. So a comment from Gabe. I got really bad fever, Sergey. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm laying down watching your voice soothing like to thank you all. I'm glad to hear it. That's nice to hear. I had actually some comments that people say that they like my show, and also if they can't fall asleep, they just find one of my longer videos and they just play because my voice is so drawn in, and I don't have emotional holocaust. Shoot, I don't have emotional roller coaster the way I talk. So people say if they have a problem falling asleep, best way to do it is have a long Ushanka show video and they sleep like babies. Emotional holocaust. Oh my god. Okay, so Aaron, did your parents speak more Ukrainian as children than you as a kid? Oh, absolutely. When I went a couple of times I went all the time to my mother's village, but they don't really speak Ukrainian there. They're Polisia, so this is like on the border with Russia, Belarus, and mostly it's like a. They actually said it's a separate, almost like a not Ukrainian, not Belarusian. It's their own language there. There's a lot of words that don't belong to any. It's almost their own narechia. I can't think of the word in English. So it's like a little bit its own language there. So my mom spoke that while there. And of course, when I was a kid, I'll spend there 3 months in the summer. I'll come back to Kiev and I'll be speaking like them, because kids picking up really quick. And my father is from Zhytomyr region. That's more like Ukrainian language. So yeah, over there they spoke, like when I go to visit, they all spoke Ukrainian or like mixture, so-called Surzhyk. But in my parents both spoke Russian in the family. I mean, we'll use some Ukrainian words here and there. Like I grew up using word buryak for beets. I never said svikla. That was like we didn't use that word. And for the path, like when people walk, there's a beaten path, grass, and the dirt in the middle. We always say steshka. We never said tropinka or tropa. So we use some Ukrainian words in ours. So and our accent was different. All right, we got probably about more 15 minutes, and then I'll feel like I'm losing my voice. Another question about did Soviet TV had a Russian versions of American TV shows? Jefferson, Charles, and no, we really didn't have TV shows. Like it was, normal TV programming. They'll show movies. We had a little bit. The only one is the most famous, of course, is 17 мгновений весны, 17 Moments of Spring. It's like a World War II, Great Patriotic War spy movie. Is a really good show. So that was 17 parts. There was a couple more, but no, it's entertainment was not part of the Soviet television experience. I can tell you that, and that was kind of nice. There's another positive thing about growing up in the Soviet Union. I was a latchkey kid. That's what my viewers, one of them, sister, told me. I didn't know that word. You come home at 2 p.m. Your parents at work till 7 or till 8, 7, 6. Like parents come home 5, 6 p.m. So you come home, have dinner, I mean lunch at home, and you by yourself. You can turn TV on, watch TV all day, but there was nothing to watch. Literally, like nothing. There'll be a ballet or some other singing, opera singing, like in the middle of the day, or just they have that test screen. So as a kid, I'm glad I didn't have that option. Of course, I'll be sitting watching the Pagadi or some other cartoons, but I'll just do my homework and I go outside to play with friends. So we were all outside playing. No one was sitting home watching TV. We had no video games. So I'm glad that I grew up in that environment. I was constantly outside, interacting with other kids. Yeah, we did some stupid stuff. We've been blowing up crap. We were sneaking into construction sites and stealing stuff. So my childhood was quite adventurous. I feel so bad for modern day kids. Like they have so much more comfort, but like my gosh, they don't want to go outside and well, they only communicate with friends playing video games. You know, Previous generation, like my step kids, they wanted to watch cartoons all the time. It's just like my gosh. So I'm glad in that regards that I had not that didn't have those options. I was by myself and I even didn't bother to turn TV on. Just have my lunch, have my soup, do my homework because I was one of those. I have some kind of mental condition. I don't know what it is. I couldn't play outside knowing I have a homework. I just wasn't comfortable. It would be constantly buzzing like it's the Damashka, it's a homework. So I knew if I do homework that I can play and no worry, just enjoy myself. If I have the homework still not done, I just couldn't enjoy it. So that's another positive thing that was let's see, we just jumped. Okay, let's see what else. Next question. Speak, we can talk about that. Okay, so next question from Aaron. Did your parents buy pigs and cow from the collective farm? I'm not sure if they bought it or is it part because the worked farm provided them with the baby cows like telenok. I cannot tell you because also cow produces a baby cow, or there's a word for it, every year. So they would also sell them. So I'm not sure exactly it worked. I know my grandpa back in the day when he was younger, he actually was raising piglets and selling them on the market because he had this special box that he used. He would borrow a horse and a wagon from the collective farm. He'd go to the market and sell piglets. So I'm not sure how that worked, but there was some kind of system. A lot of times because collective farm couldn't pay money, they will do barter. Like, yeah, you can have the baby cow when your cow is time to retire and go to turn into doktorskaya kalbasa, to the doctor's sausage, and then they have another cow because they weren't allowed to have two cows. So yeah, I don't think anybody. I don't remember anyone having more than one pig too. I'm not sure it was a limit. So, and there's another story. It's growing up in the village, like I know so much about that stuff about farming just because I spent so much time with my grandparents. Like I watched almost every evening when cows come home, literally. So like, in the summer when days are long, the cows come home about 8, 9 p.m. When the sun almost going down, and we just sit outside, and the cows just walk the street, and they know where they're home. And sometimes you see one cow start climbing on another cow, and it's kind of the sign that the cow is in heat. And then my grandpa like, okay, our Liska, I remember even the name cow is, she's just like, she needs to go visit a bull. Okay, can I go with you? I was like, sure. So we walked together, and he was having a cow on the rope, have a rope around neck. We went to walk to the local collective farm, to the farm, and they had a bull there. So also, and I wanted to actually see what's going on, but they didn't. The grandpa didn't let me, so I was just playing in the sand pile, and I took the cow in the barn. And I'm talking not like wooden barn, it was a brick building. Then I don't know, half an hour later, they came back, and I was like, what happened? I was curious. And grandpa said, oh, nothing. Bull just kind of sniffed her butt and she's good. So yeah, they sneakered each other, so it was funny. Okay, let's see what else we got. Oh, we got neighbors from Grand Haven, Michigan. Hello, how's it going? I was driving by recently. I drove with my son to Sleeping Bear Dunes. We climbed that, went all the way down and back up. It's good times. It was so pretty. The question, what was my favorite candy treat? You know, I really wasn't a big on candies. Um, I liked fruit ice cream. We had this ice cream, it was only 7 kopecks. For some reason, I don't remember not being impressed with chocolate ice cream. But we had the fruit ice cream in the summer, and it was so sweet. It was so delicious, but it was so sweet that I would eat half of it and then I just get sick of it. But it was like first half of it was outstanding. Candy wise, I was never really big on candy, so I prefer just have a like bread, put some butter and then like a homemade jam. That was my kind of sweet treat. So yeah. All right, Steven, thank you so much again for your donation. I always like to ask what's behind you. Okay, let's see what you like. I hope it makes a good interactive show too. What are those genes to your lower left and will you eat them? Okay, so you think you're talking. Okay, this is interesting. We'll talk about it's actually kind of cool. So I made a video once. So we have down in Indiana once a month comes unmarked van from New Jersey, all the way from New Jersey, and they just come just for this place. They set up like a table and they sell Eastern European groceries, mostly from Belarus, Russia, Ukraine. Now it's more from Ukraine and some other ones. So I bought this can. So this is kilka. So that's like a sprouts. Always don't say it right. In tomato paste. So that was like my favorite canned fish during the Soviet days. But I didn't pay attention. And if you look, it says made in Crimea. So this is the factory in occupied Crimea. First, unfortunately, then somehow it made it to United States. I'm not sure if it was before sanctions or what. So I'm planning to eat, of course. But then last time I went to do some grocery shopping in a marked van, I bought more because so this is in Ukrainian. So it says once again kilka, but it says Crimea recipe, but it's a Baltic sprouts. So this was supposedly Black Sea sprouts in tomato paste. This is Baltic sprouts, but it's a Black Sea recipe. But what I find it bizarre how similar design is. So this is like Ukrainian, this is Russian, but my golly, like everything looks so similar. It's almost like they still make them in, although slightly different on the pull tabs, but it's almost like they still make it at the same factory in Crimea, but then they just smuggle it into Baltic states, put Ukrainian labels on it, and then ship it. Because yeah, that's why. So I just have it there. I'm planning to eat it. But yeah, that's yeah. Like look at that. I mean, same as font, right? Font, I think it's called. Like it's almost like a same designer person designed this stuff. So yeah, and of course during the Soviet days we didn't have this. I don't know what it's called. This part. So you had to have a special tool and you crank it open. But yeah, this is was my always favorite fish, canned fish, tomato sauce. I bought some in America thinking, and they don't taste as good. There's something not done, something done different. So I'm not sure what it is. So yeah. All right, and so there. Thank you for asking. I appreciate your donation. And actually, I have another new item. My wife found it. We bought it. Where's my son? I always confused looking wrong way. Okay. All right. We bought it in Ukraine in 2018. This is a Ukrainian guy drinking beer, I guess. So, okay, I got a question from Bill, one of my members for 21 months. Thank you so much for supporting my work, Bill. Do you figure out where the Marshal Tolbuchin Street was situated? Yeah, it seems he was a good guy. Okay, so all right. I think I know you by a different name. Maybe it's your YouTube name. But yeah, I got the street sign. I was planning to send you email, but yeah, I got. Where is it? Just a second. Hold on, guys. My wife hid it somewhere. So, anyways, I have a present came from Canada, and it's a street sign from the Soviet Union. It's a Marshal Tolbuchin Street. So, they renamed a lot of streets and give them Soviet names, and probably a lot of large cities had his name, and then the city where he was born. But that was a really heavy sign, and I had it laying around, and my wife put it somewhere. I have no idea uh, where it was situated, which city, but it's like old-fashioned heavy sign. It's probably from the 50s, maybe 60s. So yeah, I don't know, unfortunately. But yeah, but thank you for that. I need to install it somewhere when I find it. I apologize for that. All right, we got a couple more questions, then I'll be wrapping up because I'm losing my voice. Okay, so question: how was music consumed in the USSR? What were your favorite songs from the Soviet era? Well, electronics was really expensive. My parents, when they were young, bought a expensive but really crappy cassette player, Vietnam, and it was broken by the time I was ready to start listening to music. So we had music, some music programming on TV. Uh, People were copying each other cassettes. We had reels to reels, LPs, of course. Um, so pretty much everything. We never had 8 tracks. Like 8 tracks were unknown, as far as I know. We never had that. So cassettes, reel to reels, LPs, and then people were smuggling some long plays out of the West, and then people copied. So usually uh, songs will be quality will be pretty poor because every time you copy the tape, quality goes down, right? And there's another interesting part about consuming music in Soviet Union. Since we didn't see concerts of foreign performers, we knew the bands, we knew the songs, but we never saw them in person or like even knew how they looked. So after, not now, of course, but a while back when the Russia started getting money, the oil prices were high. They Popular thing was for the performers from the 70s and 80s to come to Moscow. They paid them crazy money to perform. Bonnie M, whatever, I can't remember all the names. So all these bands that people like, what you want us to perform? Like no one remembers that anymore. But people were so hungry because they never seen them in a concert. So there's a videos on YouTube. This concert, these people in their 40s and 50s, and they're like young teenagers just one way ticket, all the songs that they were young and dancing to, but they never had chances to go to concerts. Now they're catching up. So it's really bizarre. There was a huge thing. All the Sandra, CC Catch, and a bunch of performers from 80s and even 70s that were coming and performing. And these old people, like, wow, they probably even singing, not literally singing, just having, fanera, as we call it. But yeah, I got a good stereo only in 1988. My parents bought me big unit with big speakers as a advance present for getting to college. So I had a lot of stress. Like before even getting to college, they gave me a present. So I was like, man, that would suck if I won't make it through the tests, and they already bought me a stereo. Question: rank Soviet leaders best to worst. I think best would be Gorbachev, then Khrushchev, and then the rest is just, you know, the worst would be Stalin, of course, for me personally. Then Andropov. I mean, Chernenko, I even can talk about him, and Lenin. It's they made him like a Soviet Jesus, but definitely Lenin basically admitted that whatever he tried to do in the Soviet Union didn't work in Russia, Soviet Russia, because they started new economic policy, right? So they reintroduced capitalism in a kind of like light form, and it was only Stalin who once again turned it sharp left and reintroduced, hardcore socialism. So yeah. That's my opinion. And I don't think Gorbachev was trying to destroy Soviet Union. Like when he became a surgeon general, the Soviet Union was already there was no way to save it. He tried, but it was just too late. Can you please do an episode on the Soviet birth control? I think I already have that, guys. I think it's called Ugly Truth. Yep, I already have a birth control. 15 minutes of birth control. I have it, my friend. It has only 14,000 views. I'm telling you, it's like I feel like I'm getting. I think an American expression is cock blocked by YouTube because I have I don't know how many videos, maybe 500 videos, all on the topic of the Soviet Union. So I think anybody who's searching anybody about Soviet Union, I should be all over the place. First recommendation, nope, never. So it's really frustrating, but it is what it is. We just keep on plowing. Maybe one day we'll have a breakthrough. Okay, birth control link coming up below. Let's see what else. So Anna said about Syrniki. Yes, Syrniki's. I posted the link about it. I have a separate playlist about cooking. Oh my goodness, guys, we have an extremely generous bill wise, bitwise. Thank you so much. I have a big generous donation of 50 euros. So yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm so thankful. Большое спасибо. Щиро дякую. So let me see if I can get your cooking playlist. Let me go here. But yeah, as I said, it's just sometimes I look at the statistics and I was like, my gosh, why it's not going on? Let's see, cooking. Try filter here. Nope. Let's see. Just a second, guys. I'll find and I'll put playlist. Soviet Army, retail, education, world travels, Ushanka factory, money, cars, KGB, unions, leaders, humor. Okay, Soviet food. Maybe it's in Soviet food. Let me look really quick here. Yep. Okay, so I have a playlist called Soviet food, and it has a lot of videos. So I'll give you the link. There we go. Soviet food playlist, and there's quite a few that my wife, like she said, she Americanized beet borscht, syrniki, some other items. So yeah, she was showing a lot how to do it. Because if you want to make it for real, Soviet way, you need to buy somewhere a piece of old cow and then boil it for 3 hours to get the broth, old cow beef broth, and then start making borscht. So okay. Okay, so the TV show that I mentioned was a 90120, but they made just a movie, I said, and I was like, whoever that girl was in there, I think she just died from cancer recently, wasn't she? So I don't know about names. But yeah, they just made like a movie, and I was like, she's just kind of like that guy, and is something gonna happen? What happened? Why is it over? And I never caught up with that show. I was like, I guess, teenager, teen thing in the 80s, maybe 90s. I don't know. So yeah, we got Slave Girl Isaura. We talked about her. Let's see. Okay, so I see. Okay, so we got Paul Sherrick was gifted a membership. Okay, thank you, Steven. Appreciate it. Yeah, Beverly Hills 90210, but they said it was just a short movie. I might need to find it if it's available just to see the beginning of episodes because it's like, okay, American High School, never seen that. Cute girl, and she's kind of like all this California vibes going on, and they're like all like looking at the beach, and boom, end of show. Oh, that was a. Let's see. So we talked about Dagestan and Chechnya. What is opinion on Dagestan and Chechnya? We got videos about it. It's I call it Soviet South. Let me see. Let's see. We can't go to videos. So once again, I see like if you guys, I don't know if you're new to my channel, but people from the Soviet South, part one. So I got three parts on that topic. If you put into search, so Soviet South, and the South is like 10 republics. All the jokes and okay, got that. So, question: was there ever monarchist restoration movement after Soviet Union fell? Uh, I think so. Some of them people were talking about trying to find the closest, whatever surviving relative, but it was not strong enough, and most people really. I mean, the religion exploded in popularity. That was crazy. Like Russian Orthodox, and then of course we got imports coming in, and my goodness, and Jehovah Witnesses, and you name it. Seven Day Adventist, like it was just like a flood of all those guys too. And I remember actually, I was advertised in Lower Kiev, and we're talking probably 93, 94. So that was like American bodybuilders, it's like those huge dudes, and it's like cheap tickets, or even almost free, and there'll be presents, you know, blah, blah, blah. So packed. At that time, we had so-called Lidové Stadion. So it was ice, yeah, ice skating rink, but hockey ring. There was people came to watch ice hockey games, and then for the concerts and stuff or performing, they'll put flooring on the top of the ice and chairs. So we went to watch, and those bastards. I apologize for my language. There was some religious group from America, so they had like a 2 hour Jesus presentation, and then 15 minutes of a couple of American bodybuilders come out. So like a half of people left. I was just like, nope, I'm sitting, I'm waiting. I want to see those bodybuilders, because back then I was big on the pump and iron. But yeah, at that time, in Russian, Jesus is Jesus, and we don't say that often, like because we never went to church, we didn't read Bible. Those guys are speaking English with translator. So that's the first time I discovered the word Jesus, because I didn't know they say it in English. But they probably said it 1,000 times in those 2 hours. Jesus will save you. Jesus this. I walked out of that place hating that word, not Jesus himself, but just the way that words sounded. Ooh, that was like a rock on the ice scratch, and it was just, and of course that whole dirty tricks about bodybuilders, and we end up listening about Jesus for 2 hours. Okay, see what else we got here. I'm still going through the Beverly Hills people mentioned. You see, I'm behind quite a bit. Now I got homeless people. Yeah, that's actually when I first time noticed homeless people was when I went to California in 1996. I mentioned in my book. It's behind me over here. 1996 American Diaries. I was shocked. Like in Michigan, I didn't see any, and I was like, wow, And then there was another bizarre thing. Like I just end up working at the farm for $5 an hour, and I walk in the streets of LA, and there's people sitting there begging, calling my, hey, can you spare change? I was like, I was just busting my ass for $5 an hour, and you sitting here on the street speaking like I sound fluent English, and you're begging me, fresh off the boat guy for money. Like, go yourself at the farm and make some money. There's plenty of farms rural in California. Like, god damn, I was like, I'm I should be nicer, but you know, it's like when I asked for work at that farm, and Herb said, I asked, will you need my help? And he said, I think so. I even didn't know what I think so means. And I still got the job, and I worked, and I worked 10, 11 hours every day for $5 an hour for like a month nonstop, made good money, $1,500 in 1 month. And here's this American sitting on the streets begging for money. I was like, what's wrong with you? There's jobs everywhere. I see that. Like, even I could get a job. Why are you begging for money? Question: does Sergey speak in Spanish? Poquito. When I worked with my Mexican camaradas at the farm, we learned some. I learned some Spanish, but mostly bad words. Me gusta chichis grandes.